Let me ask you, do you remember the second Ice Age movie? The trio Manny, Sid and Diego suddenly realized that the melting glaciers are displacing their friends. While animals in the real as well as real were on the move for safer habitats, humans began to take their place, particularly leaders of the United States, Russia and China. In fact, the melting ice is crucial for the three countries' Arctic strategy. So here are the questions we are raising today. Why is the Arctic becoming important? Why is Xi Jinping investing in the region? Is Vladimir Putin looking for a friend in the icy waters? Is this why Donald Trump wants Greenland? And what will a battle in the Arctic look like? Hello and welcome, I'm Ananya Datta and you're watching Hindustan Times. Until the 1900s, the Arctic was untouched. But in the Cold War era, countries started to realize its importance. It was around the same time that global warming started to make tangible changes to the region. Today, it's a place that is warming at a rate 4 times higher than the global average. Melting sea ice has opened new shipping pathways. The parts that used to be frozen most part of the year have cold but flowing water now. The Arctic also contains vast fossil fuel reserves. It's believed that the region is home to 90 billion barrels of undiscovered oil, 30% of the world's undiscovered natural gas, and $1 trillion in rare earth minerals. Call it a jackpot for any country. This region has a well-established organization in place. It's called the Arctic Council. It consists of 8 countries: Finland, Norway, Iceland, Sweden, Russia, Denmark, Canada and the United States. But after Russia invaded Ukraine in the year 2022, the member countries suspended the cooperation. And since then, it has been a series of push and pull without any results. So Europe's geopolitics has had a ripple effect, with Russia mulling over leaving the council now. So that's climate, shipping, energy and security, all converging in this vast icy region. Let's start with China. Right off the bat, let me declare China is not an Arctic nation. It is miles away, in fact. But funnily or not, it calls itself a near-Arctic state. It was one of the firsts to identify the region's potential. Beijing has been seeking influence through its Polar Silk Road initiative. It's also about power balance. You know, there is a tug of war in the Indo-Pacific where China claims the United States has no claims at all. But that hasn't stopped Washington from pursuing its interests. Think of the Arctic like that for China. In recent years, Xi Jinping has pursued investments in Arctic energy and infrastructure in Greenland, Svalbard, northern Sweden and northern Norway, all to expand its global reach.
As an observer, China does not have the voting rights, and it does not have the ability to set agenda. It does not even have the ability to, it has the ability to express its opinion, but it cannot vote basically on the Arctic Council. So this type of frustration, I think, has created a lot of anxiety on China's side as well how to circumvent the obstacles as an observer on the Arctic Council. And they have successfully come up with other ways, such as bilateral cooperation with individual Arctic states and cooperation through economic endeavors, such as the Polar Silk Road, to basically interject and to instill Chinese influence in Arctic affairs.
The Arctic has long been central to Russia's identity and security. The country controls 53% of the Arctic coastline. It helps its economy with 10% of its GDP and 20% of its exports. Russia has expanded its military footprint as well. They have reopened Soviet-era bases, deployed advanced missile systems and invested in nuclear-powered icebreakers. By doing all of this, Russia has managed to challenge the norms set by NATO and doesn't want to be alone while doing it. So as the saying goes, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. Russia invited China to piggyback and enter the Arctic. That way, Moscow isn't alone and Beijing's interests are met.
There's a very strong complementarity between the two economics. And politically, there is a wish to assure stability and cooperation between the relationship between the two. And generally, strategically, we, of course, understand that the world is changing. It's not about the Arctic. Arctic is only part of the global change in the world.
The latest showcase of this alliance was in July of 2024, when both the countries held naval exercises in the Northwest Pacific. But that was last year, and this year Donald Trump is going to be back in the White House, and he already has his eyes set on the Arctic. This is how we know it.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world. You look at, you don't even need binoculars. You look outside, you have China ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting it happen.
Trump is clearly worried about Russia and China's alliance in the Arctic region, so much that it's willing to go against one of its own allies, Denmark. He has threatened tariffs, but Denmark seems prepared. On the day that Trump made the comments that you heard earlier, the Danish government announced $1.5 billion in defense spending for Greenland. The island is not the only source for the United States to exert its influence. Washington has bases in Alaska and Finland as well. Nevertheless, Trump has set the tone for a war, an economic one for now, and he has a lot of fronts to guard. Also, Trump needs NATO for its Arctic influence, an alliance that he once called obsolete. So the question is, what happens now? Well, every country needs to understand that what happens in the north doesn't stay in the north. Behold icy cold Arctic, a heated power battle awaits you.
What the changes in India's population and the differential growth rates.
This city has emerged.
We have a very special guest on the record.
The interview.
The role that the US side played at that point of time.
पूरी दुनिया की नजर.
Assume my phone is tapped, I can probably say hello to Mr. Modi.
आपके भारत पर है.
Episode of Know Your Candidate.
The rising confidence of India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Communist China is the greatest threat.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremist.
I'm still a little perplexed by why we.
Your daily dose of news from India and across the world. Cutting-edge views and analysis. Tune into HT videos. Click on the bell icon to subscribe.